Hello everyone, my name is Sikumbuzo Mayaba. Welcome to Nozibele Kamgana Mayaba YouTube channel. Today I'm the guest and she's the host as usual.
Yes.
I'm back by popular demand.
It's cool.
Now that we're starting, I think there are things that we need to address up front. Quite a number of things actually. But there's this one particular one that makes noise the most. Hlukanani. So these are ngesimpondo.
Okay.
So after every video, there's a comment section there, and we really appreciate those comments. They are so kind, and they make one to be confident even about the small things, because they are encouraging. So I really personally appreciate them. There is something, however, that I would like to address, the issue of wisdom. The issue of, these guys are blessed. And what else that comes up the most there?
I think that those are the top two.
Yeah.
What's wrong with them?
So in my view, is that all of us are blessed, including you watching this video. So basically all of us, we are blessed. It's just the matter of, identify that which you are blessed with and use it to the best of your ability. That's number one. With regards to wisdom, I think, not that I think, I know for sure. Every one of us, we have the thinking ability, which links to wisdom at the end. And it's just the matter of creating an enabling environment for your partner to show you that side of him or her. And I can tell you that at the beginning of the relationship, you might have noticed that it's something that attracted you to that person, but as time went by, that actually died. It's not that it died, but maybe, and I'm saying maybe, the ability to create an enabling environment, it had slowed a bit. So you need to stick to what made you fall for your partner. So to see and experience that wisdom on a daily basis.
I don't think they mean it in a... Okay, I'm two-way about it.
Not in a bad light.
No, definitely. Not in a malicious way. It's absolutely a compliment, innit? But I get where you're coming from. The other day I was posting a status from Mo and Nopindi. The status is a year old. And they're talking about, the ideal couple that you put on a pedestal. They're like as if they couldn't do anything wrong. They're the perfect relationship. I think that's where also I get a little bit uncomfortable, but I think that's one thing that we have kind of like portrayed. Okay, we've tried to communicate, but there's nothing perfect between the two of us. We have tried to communicate in terms of we have trouble like any other couple.
Trouble, by the way, is not a negative thing.
Challenges like any other couple.
But it's a positive thing.
Yes, definitely. So I think we try to bring the authenticity and the realness of what marriage is about. So guys, before we proceed, can I just address one thing from my side? It's exactly, what is it? It's almost 10 in the evening. This is the only way where we can do these videos. Yeah, can't?
Including adult activities.
That's the only time we're going to do this video. So I'm not going to have my makeup on at 10 p.m. at night. And I'm not going to have my hair on and all of those things. So baby, I knew we were going to do that. So excuse...
This is so pretty today for a change. I love Amanda.
Oh. Are you being shady?
No, I love them.
Okay. Anyway, so guys, today we want to tackle a topic that we know for sure is very controversial. Ne?
No, so take a pen and paper.
I mean...
So I don't go outside the conversation.
Don't go outside. No, don't worry.
take
I'll
a
bring you.
pin.
Don't worry. I'll bring you in. I'll bring you in. It's very controversial to some extent, but I feel like we need to do it because there's a lot of people, especially people that obviously want to get married, that are thinking about getting married, but they're not necessarily openly discussed. So we want to bring that forward and to some extent also share our own experience. So a couple of years ago, about 4 years ago, we were at this music festival. Was it Buela Kaya or was it Buela Kaya? I think it was about 2017, 2018. I can't remember. Was it Buela Kaya or what? Ebubeleni. Yes, so we're having a good time, okay, dancing around. We start socializing with like a couple of people, couples. We're having a good time. Do you remember this one particular lady that went to the festival with a guy that we thought was a boyfriend, but turned out to be like a security guard that wanted to date her?
Okay. Yes, I remember that.
So we were all rooting for them, thinking that they're a couple, up until the point where the lady was like, no, we're not a couple. This is a security guard from my son's school. He asked me out and like, we're just friends. We're not a couple. So we were basically rooting for them. And the lady was like, no, guys, like, we're not dating. And then upon,
at first, I think it's important that we also highlight the reason why we were rooting at first, because we started as if we were playing. There's something that we did not like that was said by that lady.
Yeah.
It's the manner in which she identified the guy.
Okay.
So she did not call him by his name or surname, but she said it's the security guard. So we actually did not take that kindly. The fact that she identified him based on what he does or the profession thereof.
Yeah.
So we started as if we were playing, said, no, go for him. But we spent a lot of time with them, and we actually realized that, you know what, in the container that we're looking
this
at,
is a good guy.
There's someone there.
Honestly, we're like, lady, like, what's your issue? This is a good guy, go for it. But then obviously we started chatting to her. I remember, I think we went to the bathroom when we started talking to her about what's your issue. And then she started talking about how she was getting out of a divorce, right? So she was getting out of a divorce and she was in the middle of negotiations. So now what she was careful about was that she did not want to basically make her husband, who's now going to be her ex-husband, angry to a point where he does something that is malicious. So I'm like, what can he do that is malicious? You breaking up, what else can he be doing? And then she started talking about how she might be on the verge of losing her family home. Not her own house. She was like, I'm willing to lose my own house. The one that we share together. But what I'm careful about is that me losing my family house where my mom still stays there and all of that, right? And then obviously because she said that, it was quite obvious, but these people married in community of property. Do you get what I mean? So I don't want to lie, it's cool. And then this was 2017, 2018, and then I think it was 2017, man, before we even got engaged. But that had always been at the back of my mind, and being someone who is in a position where I have a family home that is under my name, okay, that I'm still paying for, that my family still stays there, right? And what I know is that if you do not specify otherwise, and when it comes to getting married, it is assumed that you are going to get married in community of property. Now, here's my question. I had a conversation with you right before we got married, and a very uncomfortable conversation, by the way, right? Okay, here's an asset, here are assets, right, that are under my name. And I would like to protect them, right, entering this marriage. I would like to hear your views in terms of like how do you envision us getting into this marriage, taking into consideration these assets or kind of these things that I'm coming with, that you are coming with. How was that conversation for you? What did you ever think about it?
So it was uncomfortable because the topic there, it spoke or it touched on imali that was made in the past. So the question was, how do we then, go about this? I did not understand the contractual side of the marriage, and I was not really keen on the details of the contract. I think you and I, we got married before we signed on that piece of paper, the contract on its own. So it was uncomfortable because I'm a person who does not really want to talk about tomorrow. So here is this person that and does not shy away from talking about how does tomorrow look like. So it was uncomfortable in that sense.
When you're saying, Mana, you were not keen to on the contract side of marriage, do you mean, Mana, you were not aware of the different alternatives or the different options? For example, either you get married in community of property, or you get married out of community of property, or can you get married, what is it, out of community of property with accruals?
Okay, so there are two types of marriages that I knew. One in community of property, number two is outside. What do you call it?
Out of community of
Yes,
property.
out of community of property. So because I had a very strong Christian background, I only knew one angle, and that angle is in community of property. And then the person comes in and then say, let's marry outside. There's only one thing that is at the back of his or her mind that I knew, is that this one is preparing for divorce. So because it was the very first time for me ever to have that kind of a conversation, those things, they came to my mind. Oh, okay. But
And
quickly
so,
I was then able to look at the positive side and what it means, and I was able to separate the two. In other words, the marriage, our own marriage, and the contract.
okay, let's take it back. I love the fact that you're saying eventually you got comfortable to understand and separate the marriage and the contract. But let's take it to that moment where I'm coming to you and I'm saying to you, listen, I'm in this marriage but entering this marriage, whatever that I have acquired, particularly with my family house, is not entering into this marriage. What's the first thought that came into your mind?
But I see we're heading for a divorce, just as our child has been this divorce.
Okay.
Because the thinking was ungena sesithi ukelemile lo. Umntana setown iselokishini. It's about what's in it for me, as opposed to the real marriage, the real deal that we were entering into at the time. Now, I think it's also important that we talk about the marriage, because the honest truth is that my mind was actually not there. Now, I was more looking forward to this person and getting married to this person. So when we touch up those things, they actually went to a different pocket in my mind, and which was the negative side of me, and that really thought about divorce. So it's important that we understand marriage and the intent of marriage and how marriage should move from point A to point B. So, and those are things for me that we key in ensuring that I understand. As rough that conversation as it was, it did not move away from the fact that we were getting married and the reasons thereof. Had the tone been different to how we were having that conversation, I would have said, okay, we're now heading for a disaster. But because the tone was so, it had great humility in it. So I was able to quickly shift my mind and focus on why you and I were getting married. There are many different reasons why people get married. I was getting married because of the emotional need. So I had lived alone for a long time, and I could not plug that void on my own for a long time. So I needed somebody else who was going to help me cry with, from an emotional point of view. Emotional need, as I put it. The second reason was the social side, or the social need, as educated people call it. So I was able, whilst I was staying alone, able to have a conversation with Sikhumbuzo and make Sikhumbuzo laugh all the time. But it reached a point where my jokes were no longer relevant to Sikhumbuzo. I needed to share those jokes with somebody else, and that somebody else as well share those jokes with me. And also, I needed somebody who I'm going to mingle with, meet new people with, make new friends with, not alone. And I was becoming more irrelevant as I was walking that journey alone. So I needed somebody else who's going to help me with that from a social point of view. So I said, number one, it's the emotional need. Number two, the social side of the things. So those things were key. Those are the key reasons as to why I wanted to get married. So in that list, it did not have the economical side or economical need. So in other words, the monetary aspect of it. And even today, I still don't have that in my list. So, and hence, the conversation around the contract that we're going to enter into, it was never part of the conversation between myself and Sikhumbuzo. Because remember, I needed to have this conversation with myself and really understand what it means. So the only conversation that I'd had with Sikhumbuzo was along these three things, and not the economical aspect of the marriage.
But let me ask, wasn't that also though influenced by the fact that you had not been exposed to such, and that's why it was never something that it was an additional factor in that list? Okay, you had intentionally ran away from that. Okay, it was not like a priority for you.
It was like ego indoda. I assumed that even though I knew what was going on in their life, but I assumed that we entering into this marriage and therefore we're going to build a family together. So it came with that ignorance. So prior to us, I had attended many weddings and been the best man. It was never even a question.
What?
The minister who's ministering that for that marriage. So no, okay, it's in community. Actually, it happens there. So there were no conversations prior to that day. So it happens there at the altar when you are supposed to say, okay, so in community of property, okay. And then
And obviously you put on the spot, you like by in front of people, you can't say
so
otherwise.
You don't even know what it means. The question is, if it's a male that has these assets and this wealth, then enters into that kind of a marriage, what plays on top of your mind as a female?
Can't bet.
Can do. I can't bet it.
You know, it's very funny that you're saying that, innit? Because hey.
So when you get married to a man that has everything, the assumption is that it's in community of property.
I mean, I've yet to be. I don't have the right answer for it. It's an assumption, but as a man, ungena nazo zonke izinto because kaloku kufuneke ube yi-provider apha. Uyabona intela? And xa usweleka ushiya yonke into apha kunkosikazi. Is it justified? Now that ngoku you are more aware and you say you did your own homework and you've come, to understand the intention behind it. The fact that when I was having the conversation, with you, it was not to say I'm planning for a divorce already. Because in honest truth, having such conversation, it actually even goes beyond that. Do you get what I mean? I'll make an example. In a case where kukho la property yasemagxaki, I become insolvent. Okay, I am in trouble with the bank where I cannot pay for that house. Now, the bank will need to attach whatever that we have built to recover the cost of that house. You are in business. I'm not in business. You become insolvent or you go into debt. 1 million rand. La 1 million rand kuzofuneka nakum ifunwe ke ngoku la 1 million rand.
So I mean, we are accountable.
We are accountable, so by two. So that's what I'm saying, man. It goes beyond the fact that Umdu is planning for a divorce.
No, without any doubt. I mean, I agree with you. Those are the conversations that I had to have with myself. When thinking about that deeply. But at face value, you having that conversation, how do you approach this conversation? Because these are the conversations that needs to happen upfront. So how do you have that conversation with someone without driving a person to think divorce?
I want to really emphasize on the fact that by bringing this conversation, we're not saying one or the other is correct.
Yeah.
But we are trying to also shed light about how we have been able to shift our thinking when it comes to certain things. I would like to also, just be open-minded when it comes to such topics as well. I'll make another silly example. In our church, it was like when Facebook started, it was cool. It was une Facebook page or une Facebook account. Like you're no longer Christian, you've sinned because you have fallen into the traps of the world and all of those things. It was taboo. And for that reason, that is why when I started having a Facebook account, I started blocking everyone from church because I didn't want anyone to know that I had a Facebook page and what do I write on that Facebook page. But it's very interesting that
nowadays,
just like last year, we were hit by COVID. And the very same people who were against Facebook and social media and the influence of social media, not even wanting to see the good of social media, are the very same people that are using these platforms ukushumayela, to make sure that, you know, the word gets, you know, reaches to wherever it needs to reach. Like churches are using these platforms, you know, because they understand mana ixesha liyachinja. There are so many different things that you know, that are coming through that we just need to embrace. That's where I'm coming from. Not whether Yamana this is right or wrong. But I know Bana there are many people that are in similar situations and they just don't want to go into it blindly. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure that you subscribe, you share, you like, you comment. What are you doing?
Okay, look, you watch, you subscribe, you share, and then you comment.
Okay. Until next time, see you.